Hi everyone, this is Fernando from Moonspell.
This is Missy Avila from Your Chance to Die.
I'm Corey Hoffing from Crimson Shadows.
This is Heather Michelle from Grave Shadow.
Hey, this is Paul Mazurkowitz, the drummer from Cannibal Corpse, and you are listening to The Great Metal Debate. Wherever we take form, presenting the world back to its newest form. The truth emerging from the deepest part of the earth. Shuddering the mirror of lifelong lies. Reveal reality again.
The podcast is back, listeners, with another artist interview forged in molten metal. I'm extremely honored to be joined by Rob the Witch, singer and guitarist for the Canadian metal band Necronomicon. Rob, thank you so much for coming on the Great Metal Debate podcast.
Hey, no problem. It's my pleasure.
Rob, let's begin by getting folks up to speed on the history of Necronomicon, especially for individuals who aren't familiar with the background. When was the band formed, and how did the band come together?
I'm going to make a short version because it could be extremely long. But myself started the band in, 1988. So we're talking about a little while ago. And of course, in the beginning it was a little bit different. It was the end of the 80s and, things were really different back then. And on top of that, I was not living in a major city. I was living up in the north in the Great Mountains. So it was quite a challenge to start, doing a band and try to do something, because people just want to play cover there and, play music for their girlfriends. And that's a little bit cheesy, but that's the way it is. So, the band started to be more active really starting 2 years after, in 1990. And we started to make some shows here and there. And, I'm the only original member. So, it would be long to say that this happened and that guy left for this and that. So, but the main thing is our first demo tape, went to 92, started to have a kind of interest from major cities and other place, I can say in the country. And some people start to say you should be you should do something more serious, try to move somewhere where there's a market. So in 93 we moved to Montreal. That's one of the big city here in the French part actually of Canada. And since then we've been working our way up. And that's to make a short answer. That's pretty much it. So we never stopped on top of that. So I never stopped the band. We've always been playing, and recording whenever we could, because at one point there's been when we moved to Montreal, the time to adapt, to everyone. You have to get in your mind that it's 6 hours away from where we were living. So we needed to reinstall everything, ourselves and get jobs. And so it took a little while before we've been able to record something after that. But we never stopped. And here we are, in 2016 and still going strong.
88's a long time ago. Metal and music generally has changed so much since that time.
Yeah.
I'm curious about your thoughts about how things have changed and in many ways that you would never have anticipated.
Yes, especially the music industry have evolved so much. I mean, back in the days it was still cassette, CDs were just starting. Of course, our second release was a CD, and it was like, wow, we have a CD, It was like the big thing. Is it 94, I think, 95, maybe. And, it was still when the time when labels were putting a little bit more money and stuff like that. Of course, with the, everything that happened with the internet, it have changed so much. It's not, we don't sell CDs as, back in the days, it was so different. You were selling CDs, and even if you were selling 20,000 CDs, it was not enough. These days, if you're selling 20,000 CDs, you're the big shit, you know. So it's a little bit like it's weird.
For people who aren't familiar with Necronomicon, how would you best describe what they should expect from the band, both in terms of the music that they hear on CD or other form, as well as the live performance?
Well, of course, I have to be honest that we're playing extreme metal. I mean, everyone knows that. That's really clear when you see like the picture of the band and you hear the songs. It's you know, it's not commercial stuff. I mean, people are saying that we're playing a hybrid of black death metal. Myself, I just say we play extreme metal, but really dark. I mean, of course, people say, "Oh, but you were a little bit different before." Of course, because things are changing. You know, if you're listening to my first songs that I was writing for the band, and at the end of the '80s, of course, it's different from what I'm writing today. You know, we evolve, we have like different influences here and there. The main focus of the band haven't changed though. Our main influence always been Celtic Frost, you know, and you know, bands from that era like Bathory, the first album, and you know, Venom, and I'm from that time. So of course, that's when I started to do the band. I wanted to have something like kind of occult and a 3-piece band and all that stuff. With time it evolved, and I always wanted to, I'm repeating myself with the Celtic Frost, you know, stuff there, because it's the band that made me want to have like ambience and female vocals and the orchestration part, because they did that in To My Guitarian album, and I was totally blown away. So of course, when we started our first recording, we didn't have the means to have that, because there was no digital sampling or you know, or orchestral like samples or things like that, or even so to hire other musicians. I didn't have the budget to do that. So you know, there was not much of that on the first release. But with time, we've been able to put that together, and you know, as soon as the band started to have more a name, we've been able, and the technology advanced also. You have to remember that, you know, we were recording on tape, you know, a few years ago. So that was totally different. You can, you know, edit and do in computer and just sound replacement. You couldn't do that. So, I mean, I think we've always been honest to ourselves and said we're playing kind of extreme dark metal. But I know some people are saying that we're doing like a Dimmu Borgir or Behemoth, but people have to remember that we were there before these guys. So, I mean, it's extreme metal, you know. It's extreme metal. It's really occult, though. We talk about a lot of occult stuff.
I do want to ask you kind of about the composition of the band. You all have 3 musicians in the band?
Yeah. Well, we've been 4 at one point. Let's say more in the beginning, because it was extremely democratic, if I can say. Everyone had their words on everything, and there was a kind of guy, oh, I want to have my friend in the band, blah blah blah. So at one point, we accepted another guitarist, but didn't last really long. So, but the main idea of the band was to be a 3-piece band, yes.
Well, I'm curious because you don't see that as much any longer. You tend to see bands who continue to add members. I mean, it's not at all uncommon to see metal bands that are 6 pieces now. And so I wonder if being a 3-piece provides any challenges, especially performing live and recreating the studio sound in the live environment.
Well, it is a challenge. There's some aspect of being a 3-piece band that make things more complicated. But on the other side, there's some really big advantages. For example, I mean, it's less trouble for us to get on the road, like in a tour bus, for example. If you go on a tour and you have to split a share for, to split the bill for a tour bus, usually there's some bands who end up end up like they have to rent an extra van or a car or whatever to drive by themselves because there's not enough place in the tour bus because of the staff, and like other bands are like 7 or 6 or whatever. Necronomicon fit everywhere because we're just 3. The stuff like that is really funny. On the other hand, we have to be more. We can't. We're not allowed too much error because we're just 3-piece band. You don't have a second guitarist to hide your errors behind, and so it need a lot of practice and to fix everything together. And for the orchestral part, everything is sampled. So our drummer is playing with is in control of the orchestral parts. So when we finish the recording, we're going to a studio to mix the orchestration and function of how we're gonna play live. So we make tests after that. We're going in a full PA and a practice studio, and try to balance everything to be there. So it's a lot of work. And after that, we have to go back in studio to fix if stuff that doesn't pass really well. And, for example, like the brass or whatever, here because of with the guitar sound, it clash a little bit. You need to fix that. And when you record an album, it's really different because you make everything happen right there. And it's everything after that's compressed and limited, and you go to the mastering. So you do that, but when you get to the live situation, it's a total different story. So you need to redo a studio again to balance all that. And when it's done, we get that into a player that we have with a special plugged in a special way with a little mixer, and my drummer's controlling that on the side, and you have like metronomes. So Necronomicon's playing with a metronome live. So we can play with the samples of the orchestral, all the orchestration. So when my drummer, so we're not allowed to make an error, because if we make an error, everything's going like, it's going to be, the song is fucked. So
sounds like, it almost holds you accountable to almost perform perfectly live.
Yep.
To have that sort of that sort of constraint.
Yeah, we don't have it. It's as simple as that. So we accepted that if we're going to play with that aspect, with the orchestration and like female voices and choirs and stuff like that. And sometimes I have double and triple my voice with different kind of voice on the album. So I can't do the same voice that doing at the same time in live. I can do only one voice at a time. So I have playbacks on my vocals to double myself, or using like a more black metal voice or more narration voice at the same time on my voice. So we don't have a choice to be like perfectly on the metronome. So every show, and it's been many years we're playing like that. And actually we started at the beginning of 2000, if I remember correctly. I think in 2001 or something like that, we were playing with the metronome. And so it forced the band to be extremely tight. Yes, it's pretty challenging, but you get used to it.
And despite those challenges, I'm amazed when you talk about there are literally economic benefits to having that small band size. That's very interesting. I never considered that before. Yeah,
because of course, a band, the more the band is, that's something that's really, some people don't think about it. The more a band is getting popular, the more expensive is the band. That's a reality, because you need to do more promotion. You need to be on bigger tour, and that's like a secret. That's not a secret anymore, actually. I should say it's that to get on some tour, you need to pay sometime. You need to make a deposit. If you go on a tour bus, some people have said, okay, we split like in 3 parts, the tour bus, or other people said we're selling by bunks. Some agency do that. So you buy your bed and you have to pay it for a month, because you need to pay the freaking tour bus there. A tour bus is around $2,000 per day. So that's a lot of money. And
absolutely.
So the more you're going, the bigger you're going, the more expensive is the band. And the public wants to have quality, because you can't have like your best friend doing a little drawing for your album cover. You need to have professional people, and that people you need to pay them. So the bigger you are, the more expenses you have. And at the same time, because we have to be honest with each other. It's like I said, it's different today. So people doing less money with music, and less albums are selling CDs. Everything is going digital, and people don't want to pay for music. So the bands are doing less money than before. Being 3, it's easier to get the money by that being 6. So
sounds like you've learned to maybe play smarter, not harder.
Yeah, like for example, we just say like Dimmu Borgir. There were 6 in the band. Officially, the band is just 3 now. They have session player. They have like Shagrat, Silenos, like in what's his name, Galder. That's officially that's the 3 Dimmu Borgir guy. They fire all the other ones. There was no. I mean, it's maybe not the reason, but because I don't know the details. But 3 guys, it's easier to make money with 3 guys than with 6 guys.
Absolutely.
We're talking money here. It's
sure.
And some people have said, oh, it's all about money, but having a band, it's a business. If you want to go somewhere, and like James Brown was saying, it's 75% business and 25% music.
Well, Rob, let's talk about the newest business for Necronomicon. Talk about your new album, Advent of the Human God. That's set for North American release on March 25th. Tell us about what inspired this album.
That album is like, I could say like the part 3 of Return of the Witch, because when we started in 2010, it was Return of the Witch. It was the comeback to the root, because the roots of the band was like kind of having a really dark impression, but really galactic impression also on the cycle of life and everything. We've always been like that, but on previous album before and previous lineup of the band, there was some people they wanted to experiment and do some stuff, and other people were not feeling comfortable with the dark look of the band. So for a certain number of years, we had to drop costumes and corpse paint and stuff like that, because it was extremely democratic, and I was the only one trying to hold having dark image. So we had to go. We went away a little bit from that point, but in 2000, after Far Off got released, we had some major issues with labels and everything, and everyone quit in the band. So at that point, I started to say, okay, I'm gonna keep going, but the band's gonna come back to the roots. So slowly we started to go back to the roots. In 2010, with Return of the Witch, it was we came back what the band. The image of the band that was at the origin, the entire idea. So from that point, it was like developing like the part 3 of a kind of a trilogy, but it's really hard to explain because it could be taken as a trilogy, but it could each album is really different at the same time. So it's the logical continuation from the point of Return of the Witch, and there was Rise of the other ones in between. So that album was not really like a big work in the sense of, I need to find inspiration. It was already planned from, it was already an image clear, really an image really clear in my head from all the way from 2010.
Well, I've had an opportunity to listen to this album the past couple of weeks. I'll be honest, I'm really blown away by it. Have my own favorite tracks on there. Crown of Thorns, I just love that one, and Bringer of Light, really good as well. I'm curious, how long have you had these songs in development, and kind of what was the production process for the album?
I'm usually I'm always one album ahead, sometimes 2. So I mean, it's not that it's been like work and rework and rework. It's not that way. But the songs and the concept of the album was, like I said, was already floating there since 2010. Like Rise of the Other One was there also, more developed in my head when I was writing Return of the Witch. So So saying that, it means that already when I'm talking to you right now about the new album is going to come out, I'm already have another one in my head.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the concept and everything. And I have some songs that I could just sit down and play actually. And yeah, that album, I mean, I wanted to, first thing for the artwork, I wanted to go different from the two others. The two others were like compositing of image and a photo that the guy went to do, like take some pictures, and he edited it and did a really good job. But now I wanted to go more vintage, you know, like with painting and stuff like that. So we hired an artist from here. I was not expecting that, but I saw some work of the guy, and I went, well, okay, we're gonna stay in the country finally, because the other guy was a German guy. I said, okay, I'm gonna tell you the title of the album, and you're just gonna draw some stuff. And me, I came with my idea. I liked my idea better, so. And from that point, we had this working on the side at the same time that we started to go in studio. But in the studio for that album, it was a little bit more complicated because we needed the progression to be all at the same time. So I was going in the studio recording with a band, and after I was going to another studio to record the orchestration. And the album has been mixed on a third studio in US. So I had to go from one studio to the other, and the last one I couldn't go. It was in Dallas with a JFD studio with Jeff Dajne from Cataclysm, but I couldn't go there physically. So we had to work on Skype, like almost for many days, like 12 hours per day, or something like that. So it was pretty intense, like to going from one studio. Because the band had to record with the demo version of the orchestration to be sure where we're going, and at the same time where I was taking the same demo and going to the orchestration studio, Silver Wing studio here in Montreal, to work on the orchestral part with the same demo, and after that we built everything at the mix. We put everything together, the orchestration and the band. So that was a lot of work, yeah.
That's amazing, being able to work via Skype with another artist. Talk about how things have changed since back in the 1980s.
Yeah, but I was cool for the mix. It was cool to work on Skype. It was a first for me. But I would have liked better to, if I could have done it, I would have flied there and just stay there like maybe a week and a half, you know, and just work the album. Because there was some stuff that we needed to... I mean, you listen to the stuff on Skype, but the quality is lost. You lose a little bit the quality of the mix. So he needed to upload it and send the track. So I listened at home, and after going back and said, okay, we need to fix this and that. So, I mean, it's cool we've been able to do it that way. But at the same time, I would have liked better. It would have been faster, I should say, if I went there. But it's pretty interesting experience, though.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Rob, I want to ask you, we've interviewed a number of individuals from bands from the Montreal area on our podcast before. Carchaos, Beyond Creation, The Agonist, Hollow. I'm curious, what is that scene like, and why is it such fertile ground for metal music there in Montreal?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I think, yeah, it's really fertile. I think I'm going to say a number, but I think they may be like around Montreal and, you know, in Quebec province is maybe 200 bands. I'm saying that, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. In Montreal, that's crazy. There's a lot of bands. I mean, it's a good question. I don't know. I really don't know why there's so many bands. But the thing is that at the same time, there's a lot of band, but there's not much band doing, you know, stuff. I can say that, going on the road, and pretty much it's pretty much local bands doing a little stuff here, few shows in Ontario because it's next door, and that's pretty much it. I mean, we don't have much band that's going worldwide, you know, few exception, you know, like from what's the name, Beyond Creation, Beyond Creation. The Agonist is going a little more in Europe a lot, I think. I'm not sure. And maybe like one, but of course, this Cataclysms come from here. Yeah. I mean, they're not really living here anymore. Most of the guys are living in US. Cryptopsy also. But that's,
yes. Oh, yeah.
I was about to say Gorguts, but they're not from Montreal. So, but they're from Quebec. But beside that, I mean, it's a handful of band. I don't know. It's I think maybe because the industry is not really strong, because there's nothing here. There's no record label and everything. So the bands have to work like 4 or 5 times harder to get noticed and get on the market. So, I mean, there's not a lack of talent because there's so much different kind of band here. It's insane. But the reason why there's so many bands, I have no clue. Really, no clue.
As an outsider, it's just impressive. I mean, I think almost every metal fan in North America would want to come to Montreal just for the metal. Yeah, well, yes and no. I think that there's a big problem here, and some people, for example, there's a girl from BC, the other side of the country, that moved here, and she tried to start a band. She's always playing in metal bands up there. She's a guitarist, singer, whatever, and as she came here and she noticed there's a problem here. It's like kind of a really I have difficulty to find the right word to not say crap. that it's really narrow-minded. Like everyone is like in the little scene and don't really help each other if you're not in their circle. And I think it's quite a little bit pathetic. I mean, I don't say that to like put down anyone, but as soon as you have a little bit of success, you get bitched. Yeah, you get bitched so hard. I mean, it happened to Cataclysm, it happened to other bands, and instead of encouraging and seeing that the bands are, paving the way for them, they just, start some stuff. And I think it's one of the reasons maybe why some bands don't go further than just around here. It's really sad because myself, I'm not originally from here. I'm coming more from the north, and it's something that really strike me when I came to Montreal. But I don't know, man. It's good here and it's not good at the same time, Sure. Maybe a little more nuanced than an outsider would see. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it looks really, really nice from outside, but inside, it would need some work. Yeah, but myself, I'm trying to help people as much as I can because it's, you can't go on like that. You go nowhere. So sure. Well, Rob, after the release of Advent of the Human God, again in North America on March 25th, what's the plan after that for Necronomicon, and when can fans expect to see the band out on the road? Yeah, so we already, our agents are already looking for a tour right now. We received some offer for some festivals, whereas try to work out it's in process of being decided if we go or not, depending of many factors. But I don't know. It's gonna depend of my agents. We're working with a Continental agency based in LA, and it's up to them actually. I told them the album's coming. This is the date. This is the promo. There's one single out already. Blah blah blah. All the typical stuff, and it's for them to decide actually. So it's really hard to say, but for sure we're going back in US. Since Rise of the Other One, tours have been really really good for us down there. Like we're living in the south. You guys are living in the south. It's really weird, but it's a way to speak, So yeah, of course, we're pretty excited to go back in U.S. So people should watch your Facebook page and other sources. Just look. A tour will be forthcoming. Just no details yet. No, I have no details at all that I can share, unfortunately. But it's just to keep in touch with the band. We're always posting news and stuff. We try to be updated as much as possible.
But yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Well, finally, Rob, what are the best ways for fans to purchase music and merchandise from Necronomicon?
Well, you can always go to Season of Mist record sites, of course, that are all labeled. There's a US division on top of that, so it's you don't have to pay in euros and all that stuff, you know. So you can always go on the Season of Mist site. That I have a section for US. Especially for US online, you can order the album there, and there's a new shirt, a special shirt that's coming. It's for there's a package right now. I haven't received it yet, so I'm still waiting for it. With a shirt, a special shirt for Advent with the new band symbol, and of course, it's always on our Facebook page. Once in a while, we're posting the links, and you have you can always band brand. Go on bandbrand, that's .ca. That's where you can buy directly from the band, different shirts and stuff like that. We're run out of CDs right now, but in production, so it's going to be back online really soon. There's new products coming really soon also. But yeah, it's our Season of Mist site on like I said, on the US part is your US shop. And on the Facebook of the band, there's a link also for the merch.
Well, I want to urge our listeners to do that. I have ordered through that Season of Mist shop, and it's very easy for U.S. users to do. No problems there. And during this Advent season, you must pick up Advent of the Human God. It is a killer album. Again, I've been listening to it over and over and over the past few weeks. It's not the longest album, but man, these tracks just pound into your head. They're really catchy, but very aggressive. I think every metal fan out there will love it. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us on the Great Metal Debate.
I thank you very much. Really happy to be here, and I hope everyone enjoyed the show. And don't forget to pick up the copy of Advent of the Human God.